Welcome again to the Interjections podcast. We've subtitled this the Undiscovered Decade because we take a look at the movies we think that have been lost to time a little bit from the decade that we grew up in, the 1990s. And so now we're in October 1990, and we're looking at Quigley Down Under. We're finally looking at an actual Western since Jimmy
Yeah.
thinks everything is a super Western.
Always relating every movie we've seen so far to a Western. It's like, oh yeah, this buddy cop movie, it's a Western. This
weirdly Back to the Future Part 3, not a Western.
Well,
It's
Back to the
always-
Future, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that
We tried to get him in already, but
That's not a real Western.
yeah, it's
This
a
is
sci-fi
a real
disguise.
Western.
Ah, yeah.
There he is. That's Tom
Good
Selleck
old-
hovering above Jeff.
I've fulfilled my dream of becoming Tom Selleck's mustache,
Mhm.
yeah.
the way this graphic is laid out.
And the midriff of Alan Rickman
Yes.
hovering in the background.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that is him. That black swath. Above
Yeah.
Yeah.
that right
He's a
ear.
black hat in the movie.
I don't know
Literally.
why I cropped it this way. The late great Alan Rickman.
So there's not too much to this plot. It's pretty much a straightforward Western, except that it takes place in Australia.
Yeah.
Tom Selleck's hired by Alan Rickman for a specific job because he's a sharpshooter. He gets to demonstrate that. And eventually he pisses Alan Rickman off because Tom Selleck realizes that Alan Rickman is using the Aboriginal people around him kind of like
Well,
slaves.
A
So.
little more
Well, I
specific.
think it was a genocide, right?
No, they do a little bit, but like they just like gloss over it in dialogue, and then they come back around to it later on in the film. What happens is like Alan Rickman's character hires wow.
Matthew
We were-
Quigley.
we just said Tom Selleck.
Matthew
Tom Selleck.
Quigley.
So like he hires him through an ad that he puts out worldwide, asking for like the best sharpshooters to come to Australia to hunt dingoes. And when he gets there, he's like, "So these dingoes you want me to hunt? I see
They're very swarthy
you have
and
a
big.
gang of people. Why do you need me?" And it turns out he actually needs them to hunt aboriginals instead of dingoes. It was like it was a kind of a farce.
I was an idiot because they end up showing two British soldier runaways. So I thought he was just to catch runaways from his crew that were pissing him off.
I think
I'm an idiot.
yeah,
I just didn't
that was
get
kind
it
of a red.
also the Aboriginals.
Yeah, that was kind of a red herring because like
Yeah.
you don't realize why he's there until like after those runaway soldiers are
Yeah.
executed.
I
And it's like
mean-
we'll talk over dinner, and then that's when you find out
Yeah.
They
his
say it
real
off
purpose is there
screen,
for there.
kind of, but you get the sense that it's racist. And I just figured it was the mistreatment of Aboriginal people that he was.
No, he was just
Yeah,
a straight up slave trader.
Makes more sense. I'm just digging.
Which, yeah.
So there's a third element to this that when he first arrives, Marston is Rickman's name. Marston's men are to pick him up, but they're also getting a couple of women to bring back to the ranch, and one of them is played by Laura San Giacomo, who you can see over Jeff's
Oh yeah,
right shoulder.
right.
You'll know her from Pretty Woman as Julia Roberts' best friend in that. So she's playing a whore again.
See, I knew her from Just Shoot Me.
That's what
that's why
gonna
I
say
was
the other
excited.
big credit.
I was like, oh my God.
She was a hooker with a drug problem. Now she's a hooker that's crazy.
Yep, crazy Cora. Well, that's the
Crazy.
thing. I mean, I brought it
Yeah,
up with
Roy.
Pretty Woman a couple months ago, so it's funny that we keep getting people that we've seen before.
We've been consistently getting a lot of movies with prostitutes in them.
That too. Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah, I think the '90s is like
Who's in charge of selecting these movies?
Corey.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this one was a personal favorite of mine when I was a kid, so this is all on me. But it isn't exactly one of the reasons I love Westerns. I just thought it was fascinating that we got one in the Australian outback. You don't get a lot of things out there. A lot of films do touch on the plight of the Aboriginals, like Rapid Proof Fence, which comes out.
It's a great movie.
Which, in all honesty, like, if it weren't for the Aboriginal factor, that you wouldn't have even known that it was in Australia.
I was gonna say they didn't utilize that very well.
Yeah, none of the actors, like you have two American actors
Yeah.
going against British actors in Australia.
Which, I mean, Australia is essentially Britain's prison.
Right, but it's just
Yeah.
like I heard one person with an Australian accent the entire movie, and it was one of his.
Ben Mendelsohn,
One of his
who
men.
plays
Well-
Director Krennic
Well,
in Rogue
Australia
One.
has only been colonized for a little while at this point, so they hadn't developed that accent that we're familiar with. Like, there's still people like incoming from the United Kingdom and
Yeah.
other parts of Europe.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's fair. See that now there's a bit of a historical context that I wasn't
Yeah.
aware of.
It doesn't have to be precise to 2020, you know, or 1990 at least. But yeah, Ben Mendelsohn in one of his early roles was pretty funny. As a kid that can't quite shoot well.
Well, he eventually gets good, and then it was a waste of time.
Yep. I did like that he ended up one of the final three. There's that dude with the Kanga hat that Jeff used to like, and Ben Mendelsohn. The final three when there's the standoff.
Oh yeah.
We're
Up in
standing
the
down.
hills. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like his
the-
second in command. That's Tony Bonner, who was an Australian actor that we never really saw outside of Australia. But
Yeah.
so, I mean, now that we've seen a full-on Western, I mean, we saw Back to the Future 3, but
Right.
how did you guys feel about actually getting to see one from the 90s?
I could see why they died off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was very quaintly old-fashioned to the point of almost being corny. Especially the musical score.
See, I thought the score was the best part. Like it was a top-notch score.
Maybe
But
the parts I
definitely-
found intrusive were the stuff with Loris and Giacomo. Like the very farcical stuff. Like it sounded very sitcom-y. On top of that, her role is very annoying.
Where she doesn't
Annoying.
recognize him and she's pretending he's Roy, or
Roy!
the part
You knew
where-
there was going to be some tragic backstory.
Yeah, I know.
Speaking of how Jimmy
She would-
says
she would
that
fit-
everything's.
she would fit amazingly in an anime.
Yeah,
Speaking of
this
how
is very
Jimmy
thin
says
idea.
everything's a Western. I was
And
thinking
now
about
westerns
how
are animes.
they took some cliches from other westerns that would be set in the U.S. and just kind of modernize them. So instead of them, they have that cliche part where they're walking through the desert and they collapse from heat exhaustion, and then they're instead of being revived by a Native American shaman, they're revived by the Aborigines.
Originals, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very cliche scene, but it's cool that they transpose that to Australia.
Yeah. It was actually being developed for about 20 years, trying to make like a traditional Western, because this writer, what was it, John? Such a simple name, I always forget them. John Hill. He was trying to develop it with Steve McQueen of all people, and that was around the time Steve McQueen got his cancer, so he never really was able to even discuss making the film. So Hill moved on to try and develop it with Clint Eastwood. That's when the director Simon Windsor came on. And he had done a couple of TV films like The Light Horseman, which was a bit famous from being a war film in Australia. And they started developing that together, and Clint just fell off, I guess. I didn't see any reason why he wasn't in it. But then they had Tom Selleck on for quite a while, and finally made it in 89, 90. So this is the showdown I was talking about behind Jeff. So Marston is in the black and white right there, and Tom Selleck's in the foreground, and then Mendelsohn is in the far point. So I just thought it was cool that Ben Mendelsohn was in a movie so early in his career.
Yeah, I didn't realize he had roles like pre 2010. You know,
Yeah, before Animal Kingdom kind of broke
Yeah.
him up. Yeah. So he was in a lot of Australian stuff, so we just weren't seeing it.
Yeah.
I think he was on that one sitcom Neighbors that everyone in Australia gets on. So, but what did you think specifically the two main leads? Like there's not too much gray line. Marston is clearly a black hat villain,
Right.
and Tom Selleck is too good for anyone.
he's a little saintly.
Yeah. He's a good and proper American.
Never really point out like where in America he's from, and if this is like 1870, he probably.
I figured the
fought more.
Dakotas, right?
Yeah, they never really say like.
Wyoming.
I figure like Texas.
I'm not sure if there was a war yet.
You think this is before?
Because like because when you see Tom Selleck's character and he introduces himself and he's showing off his skills. First thing he shows off is his equipment, his rifle, what he uses, and he was getting all technical and schmarmy with his gun, and it comes out that like it's a breech loader that's it's experimental and it has experimental ammunition, but that's probably because like how much powder is put into it and the size of the caliber. I
also feel like
I think from what I got, like this might be like pre-Civil War where people didn't have like cartridges just yet.
I feel like it was actually turn of the century because
1900.
Yeah, like late 1800s, like between like before 1912 or whatever, because they referenced Doc Holliday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was trying to figure out. They also mentioned the Colt gun has just been developed.
Well, the Army Colt.
Yeah.
And so Jimmy, when did that come out?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe it might be because like another thing that like well, something to do with
the Australian Western period too extended longer than ours, just because the desert's there. It's not like our Western imagination is always desert, but in real life, we're going to Oregon where there's it's full of pines and everything.
And then like
you have Kansas technically, and it's plains. So
and to get to Australia, you have to take a boat. Whereas here in the United States, all you had to do was just walk west.
And they were having their own Western period, but it wasn't like refugees from the Civil War. It was just the prisoners were finally being. It was 3 generations later from the original prisoners, but they weren't prisoners themselves. So they were trying to figure out how to live off a desert, essentially. And that's why everyone moved to the coast where there's actually fertile land. But it's not clear when this actually takes place.
So anywhere between 1869 to 1880.
Yeah.
Do we see any railroads in the background?
Before or after? Who knows?
I saw the original script was supposed to be around when Jeff is saying, but it didn't say when it actually is in that trivia. So
yeah,
I don't know that that's actually true.
It's just quote unquote the Old West.
Yeah, they didn't
Down Under.
It's so thin of a plot. They just wanted to see Tom Selleck in a Western, I meant to look up if he'd ever done other Westerns, and I feel like he did a couple of TV movies, maybe.
Well, that's actually, I was going to point that out. That's what this felt like, partly because it was Tom Selleck and partly because of the pacing. It felt like they had lifted a made-for-TV movie and just filled in the gaps where the commercials would be with just more walking scenes.
No, he's right.
Like reverse.
Even the film stock and the way it's edited and the way it's shot looks like a TV film.
Well, that's what mostly Simon Windsor has done. So maybe that's most of it. But I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked like it was like like an actual Western that was filmed in the 60s.
Yeah, what were you saying about the film stock?
Oh yeah, no, like the way that they use their colors, how it's like bright and vibrant in the beginning, and then slowly it becomes like muted the closer you get to the end. And it also helps that like Tom Selleck's character, like he gets dirtied up pretty good. So like he goes from a bright blue, well maybe not bright blue, but a vibrant blue shirt, the red handkerchief, and all of a sudden like by the end of the movie, it's like he's so grimy and the film's becoming more muted. It's like a just kind of dark, not so vibrant blue, and like I mean you still see the red handkerchief, and then like
3 months on a boat.
Yeah, and then like I started like noticing like the way that the sky looked in comparison to him had a grain to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know who I thought would have been a good choice for this if they wanted to give it some like real Australian atmosphere was Russell Mulcahy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what else has he done? I'm not sure they know or our audience.
Like he's done Highlander and he's done honestly in terms of like Jaws ripoffs, one of the most striking looking ones is Razorback. Razorback's just like gorgeous to look at. just from like
What's
a cinematographic point of
the
view.
creature? Is it a pig? I guess like a giant.
Yeah, it's a wild
bull?
boar. Yeah.
Also, going back to the question about
Oh, he
if
did the
Tom
shadow.
Selleck had been in. Yeah. Well, there's an entire, like, he's done enough westerns to warrant an entire DVD release box set of all of his westerns.
Has he
So,
really?
yeah, the Tom Selleck Western Collection. But he was in like
Oh yeah, that's right. I
Crossfire
see that at
Trail,
Walmart.
Monty Walsh, Shadow Riders, Saber River,
They're all TV
even
movies,
Concrete
too, though.
Cowboys.
Yeah, I think it was just like in the back of my head that he probably did this, but they're all after this, right? I don't know if they have
It's the same thing with those Jesse Stone police dramas that he does.
No,
it's essentially an extension of his Blue Bloods career.
Shadow Riders was
Right.
before, and Concrete Cowboys, but yeah, I think most of his Western career came after Quigley.
Yeah, just imagine what would have come of this if he had actually been Indiana Jones.
Is this before or after Three Man and a Baby?
After, because remember we were talking about Nancy Travis having come
Right.
back in the sequel this year.
Yes. Yeah, we'll
Even
talk
after
about
the
that.
second one.
Mm-hmm.
I think the second one came out in like May 1990. I forget. Earlier.
No, I
this
think it's coming up next month. Actually, we'll discuss it.
November. Okay.
Yeah. I think they're kind of treading on archetypes for both of these actors, which they play into them perfectly. They're perfectly cast because around this time you had Alan Rickman doing Die Hard, obviously, which is one of his biggest roles. Then he has this, and then after that he does Robin Hood, Sheriff of Nottingham. So he's kind of getting typecast a bit.
Yeah.
But he's so good in these roles. How could you deny it?
I know it's kind of thin, but this ended up being one of my favorite villain roles he'd done, mostly because it's undersung. I think a better movie was if they kept facing off or something, but he has to get across the desert to have one final showdown. I just wish there was like, I don't know what I want this plot to be, but I want them to face off a couple of times. So it would give them more to work off of.
Once they get dumped into the desert, you don't see them again together in the same frame until the climax.
It's just the bookends, really.
Yeah.
And it becomes more of a desert movie.
Yeah.
And I like Laura San Giacomo, but you're right. The role is a little overbaked.
Yeah, it was
not her fault. I think she does the best she can.
I think it's the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they needed, I don't know, it was the 90s. They needed him to have a female foil that he ends up kissing in slow motion at the end.
Yeah,
which was
wasn't that a freeze frame too?
It was a freeze frame, but they got it like they didn't even shoot it in slow motion. It was like they did it in post. It was all like very clippy as they were going.
Yeah. So you see what
the frame rate was.
They were doing the slow motion themselves.
It was almost a slideshow, like they were hesitating at the end. Like, should we do this? I mean, I guess we waited long enough.
Is this a flash animation? Did we take out the frames?
Oh God.
But I mean, she was good. I liked her performance, especially when she was like seeing like, you know, all of these Aboriginal bodies being dumped off a cliff, and she like it was a really emotional moment. And the scene with the dingoes in the cave, like that was.
I kind of laughed at that.
Of course you did.
Because they're jumping.
It was a little histrionic.
But it was. I don't know. I like that, but then she disappears for like until like the very end, and then she shows.
He keeps like dumping her in the cave.
Well, he dumped her in the cave so he could go to a town and get some food.
He didn't
and
dump
then, like,
her. Remember,
dumps her at
he
the town
tried
after
to.
he retrieves her.
Yeah, it's a little weird. That
It took him a while to leave, but
He's
it's
like,
just
I'm gonna
like
go commit murder now. So you shouldn't be around when I'm committing murder.
it was just weird how like he almost felt like he was her babysitter the whole time. And then just at the end, like, whatever, we might as well just.
I was gonna say, I didn't notice a lot of chemistry.
Yeah,
no,
right.
especially because she kept calling him by the wrong name, but then that ended up being a plot device at the end, and you're like, oh.
And she's like, I knew your name the whole time. I'm like, this okay.
We're just trying to leave little subliminal messages so that you don't give your real name and get arrested, you know.
You know, one aspect of the movie I noticed, especially towards the climax, and it happened throughout. I mean, the whole movie's about the hardware, right? But the sound effects for the bullet recoils and the shots are magnified.
Oh yeah,
really magnified in this.
Like
of course.
exaggerated?
Well, yeah, this.
Like if this were a Christopher Nolan movie, you wouldn't hear any of the dialogue. While they're going on.
The sound design and mixing were also phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, of course, because like you said, it's about the hardware, and they're trying to make the gun super important. So much so that apparently that type of gun, or like whatever came from that prototype, are now so, according to the trivia here, so inseparably related to this film that they're commonly nicknamed Quigley guns. And apparently, like after this movie came out, those guns, like the sale went up like over 1,000%.
Really? I'm not surprised.
It's like swingline staplers from Office Space.
There's a thing within the marksman community where if you get 2 targets in a row, it's called getting a Quigley now.
Wow.
This. Yeah.
I'm surprised.
How did the movie do upon release?
It initially did fine, but it was in what? 3rd place, I think. Yeah, it came in 3rd. It only got 3.8 million, but 1st place got 5, so it wasn't that different. And I
saw in your facts
in America. So
I saw on your fact sheet that it went down, and then miraculously it went up, and like it's like fifth week, something like that.
4th week. It had been in 9th in the 3rd week, and then came back up. So it wasn't like there were a bunch of movies coming out every week, and it's the same week that Dances with Wolves comes out. So you would think that people would go to see something new that's about the West, and the one that ended up winning Best Picture, but people were still hungry for Tom Selleck. So.
And they still are.
Yeah. So Blue Bloods.
As long as he keeps that mustache.
Yeah, it's
that
weird.
Magnificent
it's all.
Richard is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It did fine though. I mean, for what it is, 21 ain't horrible in 1990.
I'm actually surprised if this did that decently that they didn't try to fast track a sequel.
Yeah.
I could see him globetrotting to other places. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Or see what he was like in the actual West before he came here.
Quigley goes north.
Yeah, Quigley goes north.
It's just him in the
Quigley
Canadian wilderness.
Yeah.
Quigley and Big Ben.
Yeah.
He's just in the Canadian wilderness.
Quigley, Big Trouble in Little China.
Mr. Quigley, which is just the actual Mr. Baseball that he does a few years
Quigley on the frozen tundra. He goes to
we gotta get a prequel going, Quigley origins,
Yeah.
Quigley and the Mystery of the Lost Treasure.
The Adventures of Young Quigley.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Actually,
like
the director
Get River Phoenix to do it.
Shooting squirrels with BBs, and then
Quigley over the moon.
He's going to space. Eventually, every franchise goes to space.
He's like 80, getting up there finally.
Quigley slowly.
Quigley to the future.
He comes back with Doc and Marty.
Boy, now we're just getting into Once a Million Ways to Die in the West territory.
Oh,
Just all these Western cameos.
No, and then like there's like a underground like script. Quigley and the Second Amendment. It's got on right-wing sites.
Funny you say that, actually. Tom Selleck donated this rifle and any others that he's used in films to the NRA Museum.
he's an NRA spokesman.
Yeah.
I mean,
And they're going to start selling them off soon.
He's a big Second Amendment guy.
Yeah.
So,
He had a pretty heated debate with Rosie O'Donnell on her show.
not surprised.
Yeah.
Well, the NRA is probably going to start selling them off soon anyway.
Yeah. It is a neat gun. I did like it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a breech loader with special ammunition,
Yeah.
longer barrel, and unique sights that never really existed.
Yeah.
Can we have a new segment where it's just Jimmy's analyzing whatever weapons are used in the movie?
I like
He just
it.
fetishizes weapons.
Yeah.
So
I mean, for this film, I like that like he's using a rifle and it's a single shot breech loader, and it like because of that it controls the pacing of the action. Because like people are used to at this point like quick shooting, big bangs, and sparky boom everywhere, like pow 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 pow.
They're used to Sam Raimi's Quick and the Dead. That's why.
Yeah.
I also liked how Laura Giacomo. Damn it, I can't pronounce her last name. But
Just call Laura Sand.
Crazy Cora counted the bullets
she did actually.
in the revolver sheet. Yeah. You don't
That's
really
very,
get that.
very Archer of her, pre-Archer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what my roommate Jim from college would always complain about in movies. So I've now noticed in things when they don't
Yeah.
use up their bullets. Like King of New York was way off on how many bullets Lawrence Fishburne used. So he had like 7 guns on him,
It's a
essentially.
stylistic
Yeah.
choice.
So yeah, I mean, you can't really complain, but it's nice when it does get pointed out.
Yeah.
Right, but when the whole point is like, one of the Western tropes is like you've got one gun and so much ammunition
Yeah. Or
Wait,
like
so you're gonna make it
one
all
guy that
count.
ends up having to kill himself. Yeah.
So hold
Yeah.
on. This came out at the same time as Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, like a month beforehand, maybe 3
Yeah.
weeks.
So
beforehand.
we had 2 white savior Western movies.
Yep. Yep. Yes, we did.
That hasn't stopped, Jimmy.
No.
They still do those.
I mean, I know, no, but like they had 2 of them come out at essentially the same time.
We went to see that Christian Bale movie.
Yeah, no, true.
So,
Not gonna lie, like with that in the back of my mind, I'm just like, oh god. But like,
It's funny because I literally just watched News of the World, which is
yep, that is also, isn't it? They're still doing it today. News of the World.
Yeah, no, true.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's Tom Hanks.
It's a genre, man.
Can't hate it.
People are still gonna pay money, even if it's over streaming now.
I like saying ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say ooh.
Okay.
Oh,
How
this is
about-
also since I'm always going like every movie's a Western. This movie's a Western, and it has very anime elements. It's also a very Jesus film.
Yeah, he has a. Doesn't he have a wound? Doesn't he have a
I-
wound in the traditional spot when Jesus was crucified?
And he kind of resurrects out in the desert.
Yeah,
Yes.
true.
We're tricking the dude.
But mostly because like when they save an Aboriginal child from the death cliff,
Yeah.
like Quigley has to go to town, fetch some food for the child, and
Oh,
Crazy
right,
Cora.
this.
He comes back and is like, sorry, they didn't have your favorite color dress, no red, but I got you blue. So she's wearing a blue dress. She's got this Aboriginal child in her arm covered in a red blanket, and the Aboriginal child has a very, very
Blonde.
shiny blonde hair, very glowy, like the Madonna and the baby
And the
Jesus.
child, yeah, the
Mm.
little piano.
And at one point, isn't his hand injured? So it's almost like the stigmata.
And, oh my god.
Yeah, see,
God damn
it's
it.
a very
All the strategically placed blood at the bottom of the cliff.
Yeah.
So what is Marston the snake in the desert trying to tempt Jesus?
Yeah. Yeah. There should have been a shot of him eating an apple.
Yeah, I know, right? That would have been good. So, do we have any other final thoughts? I pretty much said everything I could say about it. I still like it. I think it holds up, but that might be my nostalgia from having seen this as a child.
It was a solid. It's all about the journey movie. Just a guy and a girl in a bad situation.
There you go. I was waiting.
bad situation down under.
But no, I enjoyed it. The score was great and sound design. The acting was as good as it could be for, it was a lot of the writing, honestly. I haven't actually seen too many Westerns. So, if it's at least the ones where they're like literally just sprawling the landscape and there's little to no dialogue. I'm comparing it to things like Hateful Eight and things where it's very dialogue heavy.
Westerns more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it felt a little slow to me, but that's I'm not too familiar with so many Westerns, but it was it's a good movie. And you can't argue with Selleck's mustache. I mean,
Plus, he's got the little soul patch.
he does.
Yeah. I actually do agree it could have been a little tighter. That desert stuff. When he goes into the village and then comes back and then goes out again, he could have just been going to get the gun and continue on to Marston, honestly.
That village scene, like when the fire's happening, is like a whole climax onto itself. Like,
Now, I liked it, but that could have been part of the whole Marston thing. Like, that is Marston's town then. He continues on from the fire, and that's when they're all staying awake. I did like that, by the way.
Yeah.
When he has them stay awake as long as possible because he knows Marston will overuse his men. That was neat. But,
Yeah, a lot of little clever like tactical stuff.
Yeah.
On part of Quigley in this movie.
Yeah. Anything else, Corey? Maybe?
I kind of felt about this movie the way that Jeff felt about King of New York. It felt very retrograde to me.
Mm.
It hasn't aged well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I could see it still has its old-fashioned charms, but it just didn't play as well for me.
You mostly don't like Giacomo, right?
She's an albatross around the movie's neck for sure.
Yeah.
I just felt like they could have had a director who had a little more flair with the material. Because I really like what Jeff said. I felt like it was a TV film. It felt like a backdoor pilot. Like this could have been the setup for a whole like series that Tom Selleck was planning to do, like post Magnum PI or something.
Like Briscoe County Jr.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great show.
Magnum
But that
Down
also
Under.
incorporates a lot of sci-fi elements too.
Yeah.
I wish we could have seen more of like Giacomo's arc.
Mm-hmm.
Or really like any kind of arc.
Yeah.
She has an anecdote that explains her tragic backstory, and that's supposed to redeem her more vexing qualities in a way.
Yeah.
You could have a drinking game to how many times she says Roy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Roy! I would have left her behind.
Well, that's
you
gonna
almost did.
Yeah.
In the desert.
That's gonna be the new thing whenever.
Oh no, maybe I'll get you.
Start calling y'all Roy.
Oh, it is kind of funny. For years, our landlord is Roy Cobb, and I was like, why? When I'm writing our rent check, like, why do I know this name? Why do I know Roy Cobb? It's the pseudonym that he ends up using at the end because we never heard Cobb until the end.
Yeah,
that's true.
And then she says, it, I'm like, oh, that's where I've been. So it's just funny. What other movies came out this month, Corey?
Oh, Barry Levinson was completing his Baltimore Trilogy with Avalon, which is, I guess, about an immigrant family coming to the U.S. I haven't seen it. I heard it's good.
What are the other two?
You have Liberty Heights
that's
and Diner.
Oh, and I know that, yeah.
Diner, I think, is the best one. Although I haven't seen Avalon, so I can't really say.
I never even heard of it, so.
You got Desperate Hours, which is a remake of a Humphrey Bogart movie. I actually watched this in preparation for the podcast. It's overwrought and overripe. It's terrible. You can't get Mickey Rourke to be the Humphrey Bogart role.
Wow. Yeah, not my first choice.
And the dialogue is really purple prose. It's bad. While we follow Romeo, let's go have a chat with Juliet. Lindsay Krause.
Oh, that cringe, man.
I'm so sorry.
Well, for sale sign is a sign of trouble. It's just every piece of dialogue. And it's Michael Cimino, too, who would work with Mickey Rourke in an infinitely better movie, which is You're the Dragon. Yikes. Henry and June came out. I don't know if you know much about this. It's kind of like an erotic drama.
It's one of the movies to get NC-17, one of the few in the last 30.
I've heard it's good.
Oh, wait, that's not Benny and June. Right? Okay.
No. There was no love triangle in that one, as far as I know.
So I was going to say, I've seen that one, but no, that's not.
Benny and June is a remake.
Yeah. Ben and Jerry.
Yeah.
There's no love triangle in that either, as far as I.
Yeah.
You have one of the better Steven Seagal movies came out this month, Marked for Death.
That's what took first place the same week as Quigley.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody else a Steven Seagal fan. No. I figured not. This is one of the better ones if you plan on going through his filmography or his canon.
I did like Under Siege. I will give him that.
Okay, that's probably the most traditionally good one, but
But again, Tommy Lee Jones is in that, so that might have helped me.
and Gary Busey
Yeah.
and Erica Laniak coming out of the cake. I got Miller's Crossing, which is Coen Brothers doing a Prohibition era gangster movie.
Yeah.
And Barry Sonnenfeld's cinematography in that is fantastic, especially the siege on Albert Finney's house is like a classic scene. Like they show that in cinematography class.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
This is your favorite Coen Brothers, right?
Wait, what?
Isn't this your favorite Coen Brothers?
Jimmy.
We're always talking about Miller's Crossing and how much he loves it.
I'm pretty sure that's not my favorite one.
We watch
Is it one of
together,
them?
like, oh, this is my favorite Coen Brothers movie.
I'm pretty sure you're injecting memories into my head.
Don't worry.
He
folks.
hates it.
It's what it's. I don't know. It's been a recent thing where I thought he liked something and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, actually, this is one of those movies that
He's gaslighting me.
I had to watch it like a few times in order to fully appreciate it
Mm-hmm.
because the first half is a little dry. It doesn't feel very Coen Brothers-esque until the second half.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I would probably rank it among their best.
I thought we would too.
There's
So
a
hero in the Prohibition era.
there's a movie called Giacomo.
Or not John. Gabriel Byrne.
Feature called Giacomo, which is a baboon who's being experimented on with rage, doses of rage, and it goes crazy in a hospital. This is on Prime, by the way, if anybody cares to watch it. I suggest you don't. But Roddy McDowall is in it,
Mm-hmm.
camping it up as one of the as the professor in this medical facility. And most of the movie is actually taken up by this D&D game that they're playing overnight at the hospital that the baboon just happens to intrude upon.
Does he sit down and play?
It'd have been better. It's funny. If you look at the trivia, there's a lot of scenes where the baboon's trying to get to the victims through a door. So you can tell they clearly have something on the other side of the door that's provoking him. And if you look at the trivia, they have a female baboon in heat on the other side of the door. So if you freeze frame a couple of times, you can see Shakma's engorged penis.
Why would you want to?
I'm just saying.
Okay.
But I love
Jeff's
Jeff's reaction right now.
Well, they gotta make this.
I zoned out for a hot second. That was what I came back to.
He zoned out and I brought him back in with engorged penis.
I mean, he's zoned out for a hot second.
that baboon.
Speaking of Criterion releases, there's a movie I don't know if Tristan got a chance to watch yet. To Sleep with Anger.
I never got to. Yeah.
Okay, I know he has it, but it's you'd know more about the plot. I guess Dan Glover plays like a Waiting for Godot type character, only an evil one. He comes in. I guess he's the patriarch of this family, or maybe the uncle. It's like Something Wicked This Way Comes.
I can't find it.
One of Jeff's favorites, Troll 2, came out this month. If you don't even need to necessarily see Troll 1 because there's no connective tissue between the two. This is set. Actually, the weird thing is they're all goblins, but the town is spelled Nilbog, which is goblin spelled backwards.
Yep.
And to get the full flavor of the movie, I would suggest you watch Best Worst Movie,
Yes.
which is a great documentary. And actually, if you buy it, you can get a copy of Troll 2 along with it.
For context.
Yeah, for context.
But you need to watching that documentary, you feel bad for the guy because the guy that directed it genuinely thought that he was making this really just heartfelt masterpiece, and it just got shit on left and right, and
Claudio Fragasso.
Right. It was almost like The Room, but if because with The Room, Tommy Wiseau eventually was just like, okay, it's funny. I'm gonna use this.
Though he's saying that now.
Right. Yeah. But
he's pissed off.
But he wasn't as heartbroken as the guy that directed Troll 2.
Wait.
Yeah, there's a couple times
So
where
isn't there
you
a cult
see
following for that movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
Both
what I
of
thought.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah, they're-
actually, in fact, there's one scene in the movie, Best Worst Movie, where he goes to a film festival where I think it's
Right.
like a Troll 2 film festival, and people are laughing and having a good time. He's like, I don't understand, why are they reacting this way to my film?
Exactly.
You might have a touch of the tism.
There's a touch of something.
Yeah. There was Thompsonvin's remake of Night of the Living Dead, which is almost like a point and shoot remake. The only thing that makes this notable is George Romero came back and he made little tweaks to the script. So now Barbara, instead of being like kind of catatonic for most of the movie, is more of the traditional like action heroine, and did some other things that make it a little bit different from the original. Other than that, it's shot in color and the zombie makeup's a little bit better, but I really think there's a pointless remake. I don't
Okay,
really
so it
care
doesn't
for
really
it.
improve anything.
No, in fact, it makes things worse in my opinion. But I guess I'm in the minority in the horror community.
Hmm.
There was a Reversal of Fortune, which got Jeremy Irons an Oscar. I actually watched this because it was on Prime. Never seen it before. Very good.
Oh, I gotta watch it.
It's actually more of a it's more of a dark comedy
Ooh.
than you'd realize. It's actually about Klaus von Bülow. I don't know if many people remember that case, but he was accused of putting his wife into a insulin-induced coma and trying to kill her. And he was represented by Alan Dershowitz, who's played by Ron Silver, who actually should have, as impressive as Jeremy Irons is, he should have got equally as much praise.
Hmm.
Glenn Close plays the wife, but obviously you only get to see her more in flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great because she narrates some of the movie, but there's times where you're like, this could be like the unreliable narrator device. And most of it's from Klaus's point of view, so it could all be skewed.
Interesting.
And it's also it's a courtroom drama where you don't set foot in a courtroom until maybe the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
So it's all about the legal process.
Yeah, kind of like A Few Good Men.
Yeah, it's actually it's riveting.
Hmm.
There was White Palace, another erotic drama
What's
with
going
James
on, America?
with James Spader and Susan Sarandon.
Any good?
It's one of those movie covers where he's like kissing her chest and she's looking up in ecstasy.
Okay.
Kind of like, like White Orchid.
Everything.
Yeah.
We're going for
Um,
NC-17, but no.
There was Graveyard Shift, which is an adaptation of Stephen King's short story. I actually think it's actually pretty underrated. It's about these guys who work down the mines, and there's this big creature, this kind of almost mutated bat, has been killing them off systematically. Obviously, it's set in Maine. But the whole thing,
Obviously.
is just so grimy and filthy. After you watch it, you're gonna want to take a shower. You feel like you're getting tetanus just from watching it. There was The Hot Spot, which was directed by Dennis Hopper, and it stars Don Johnson. And he's kind of like it's the typical noir. He's a drifter, comes into town, gets into an illicit relationship with one of the locals. I think it's Virginia Madsen,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there's a murder subplot.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it. I want to see it.
I have it over there. That's why I looked over there.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So I've meant to see it.
Did you get that from Second and Charles when we were there?
Yeah, I think I got it for $1 there.
Yeah. Damn, I should have bought that.
Yeah.
And then there was a Sibling Rivalry, which is a Carl Reiner comedy, and apparently it's probably the worst of his career, from what I hear.
Who's in it?
Kirstie Alley, and I think Drew Barrymore. No, I'm thinking Irreconcilable Differences. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forget who else is in this, but
Yeah.
I heard it's the worst movies ever directed.
I've never heard of it, so clearly it did not take.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have one more film to go through, right?
Yeah.
Our favorite segment.
Hmm.
You ready for this, Jeff? I have a specific order to go through.
Yeah.
Questions that I have for you. If you don't mind describing this poster to our listeners.
Okay. So we're looking at a suburban landscape at dusk. And there's a silhouette that looks like Mel Gibson or MacGyver or something. He's got his
Such a misrepresentation.
and sleeves rolled up, and he's staring at a gateway, like a big rectangular doorway of just a blue sky and the sun that's just in the middle of
The doorway to heaven.
this dusk landscape. It does look like a doorway to heaven. That's pretty much, it's just a silhouette staring into the abyss right now.
So what do you think this is about?
I think it's about some guy who is about to die and find the other. It's an afterlife movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or some guy who claims to be able to see the afterlife.
Okay. Is that accurate, Corey? Because I actually don't know the plot.
Not at all.
Okay. What would you call this then? Obviously, it would have to do something with your plot that you've just described, but
Heaven is a place on earth. I don't know.
okay. So
Surprised I haven't used that title.
No, you know what? I mean, I'm trying to think because he looks like he's in the middle of a cul-de-sac. I'm gonna say like
Heaven can patiently anticipate my arrival.
right. So
It's the sequel to Heaven Can Wait.
suburban Saturnalia. I don't know.
probably better than
I
this.
don't know why this is set in the suburbs. This poster really has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
That's
All right. Yeah, I don't know.
Here's a catchphrase.
All right. The tagline is, "Would you give up everything you have for everything you've ever wanted?"
Does that ring any bells?
So you're saying that's Mel Gibson, right?
It's some dude who sells
No,
his
no, wait,
soul.
Corey.
It's some dude who sells his soul for, he wants to switch lives with someone or like openly reincarnate.
He's getting warmer.
And I'm going to do something a little different. I want to give you the title, and then I want you to guess who might be in this because I'm going to have Corey describe the plot to you.
Okay.
So there's no way you're going to get the title and
Yeah.
the plot, right? I'm guessing, yeah. Let's just give you the title. Then meet Mr. Destiny.
It's such a horrible title.
So
Wow.
now knowing the title, do you have any idea what this could be about? Do you want to give one more chance before Corey describes it?
A guy who gets the chance to see his future and has the opportunity to change what he's doing to finally get, to meet up with his destiny.
Yeah. Is that
Tell the
more
future.
accurate?
It's actually the reverse.
Really?
He gets to change something in the past, and that branches off into a new future for himself.
Okay.
It's kind of like The Family Man.
It's more like It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. Okay. So who would you cast as the person that gets to do this? And I would assume the person that gives him the opportunity. Is that
Yeah, if I'm thinking it's the same person.
yeah, the two names at the top. I'm trying to get.
Yeah, I would think that's the other person who's
Who
top
would,
billed.
who would you want to be in this film, Jeff?
What I want to? This
Yeah,
sounds
what
like
classic pairing?
this sounds like a Tim Allen movie, honestly.
That's
Or
funny.
Joe Somebody.
Yeah.
Or maybe Dennis Quaid and Morgan Freeman.
Actually, you're not too bad with the type of pairing it is. Both of those are sitcom stars.
Yeah, let me get one
Dennis
more.
Quaid has
Um,
the same look as the actor.
He's been in comedic roles.
Yeah,
who
yeah.
played MacGyver?
Robert.
Yeah, no, it's
Richard
not him.
Dean Anderson.
Richard Dean
It's not
Anderson.
him. I'm also marveling at the fact that it's the same.
Let me tell you this:
Same
that body
type.
shape is not what the guy looks like.
No. Are you
Okay.
ready for this,
That's
Jeff?
very
All right,
misleading.
let's do it.
Here you go.
Jim Carrey? No.
James
Jim
Belushi.
Belushi and Michael Caine.
Does that look like James Belushi
They
to
were in a
you?
movie together?
Yup.
I gotta see this.
Yeah, is this
No, you
worth
don't.
watching?
Jim Belushi and Michael Caine.
Yep. See,
That's-
we're too far off with Morgan Freeman being like the nice mentor that leads him through something. Michael Caine probably.
I mean,
plays that.
both Michael Caine and Morgan Freeman were in, the Batman movies.
Yeah,
so,
they're basically the same.
So you're approximately there.
And Jim Belushi's discount Tim Taylor. So.
Yeah. According to Jim.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I thought it was interesting how the typeface they chose was the same as the mask, or vice versa. The mask
I'll tell you what.
took the same typeface.
That poster looks more like the Manhattan Project than anything else.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
It's totally misleading.
Yeah.
So it looks like the Manhattan Project and the movie bombed.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Womp
See, I was getting.
Jimmy.
I was getting Close Encounters vibes from it, so I thought it was going to be
Ooh.
something with aliens.
It does look like he's getting beamed up.
What?
Looks like he's getting beamed up there.
Oh my god.
No,
All right.
but
All right.
so the plot of this is James Belushi plays the executive. He feels like because he bungled a championship baseball game when he was 15, his life has been altered in a way that's made everything go downhill for him. So Michael Caine gives him the opportunity to redo that baseball game, and then his life is like like a rags to riches type tale. So, and also his girlfriend in the movie is played by Linda Hamilton. Once he redoes everything, it's Renee Russo.
Ooh.
And she gets to wear some lacy lingerie at one point, so that's the only part worth watching. But it's weird to see James Belushi doesn't fit in this like Frank Capra-esque fable. Doesn't really work with him.
Who would you?
Well, what do you mean it doesn't work? Like it's outside of his range, or it's just
It's
like
outside of his
You're
range.
having
He's
trouble
kinda-
seeing it.
He's it's just I usually envision him as like a slob.
Jeez.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I know.
But when there's parts where he has to be like a romantic lead, he doesn't quite pull it off.
Mm.
So you're saying he works better with the dog? The year earlier?
He works. Yeah, you're right. K9 is way better, and he actually works better with Arnold in Red Heat.
Yeah.
But like this casts him as like a debonair romantic lead, and the movie itself is just kind of it's a Wonderful Life all over again, but it lessed the magic of that film. Even though this is produced by Disney, Touchstone technically.
Yeah, that's what it felt like as I'm looking at this.
I'm trying to think of who would be good in the role instead, but
Back then,
So if we did a remake
I mean,
right now,
we could
still
do
Michael
remakes.
Caine
yeah, keep Michael Caine.
and Kermit the Frog as Jim Belushi's character.
Honestly, John Hamm might be good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because he did that baseball movie.
Oh right, $1 Million Arm.
Yeah.
who would play young John Hamm?
Oh, young John Hamm.
Who did the remake? I don't know.
I just went blank.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of kid actors. Jacob Tremblay.
I was thinking of that kid, Knives Out, the Michael Shannon son.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
He
the
has
kid
the
from
black
St. Vincent.
eyebrows.
Yeah.
The kid from It.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew you'd know which one by saying Knives Out, though. Then we wouldn't have gone through the entire cast yet.
Well, going off of that, either John Hamm or I think Bill Hader would be good in this too, because that was actually who first came to mind, but it was way too early for him to do anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, John Ritter might have been good.
Yeah, back then.
Yeah.
He's got a sweeter sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jim's a little rougher.
He's a little brusque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
He
him
looks
soft.
unrefined to me.
Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you something. Has Jim Belushi done anything of recognition since, like, before? What was he famous for, his talent or because of his brother? Let me
I'd
put it
say
this
his
way.
brother back then.
But then he got his own stuff that showed that he could do stuff. I like
Right.
Kanan.
But I mean, like, at the same time, like,
This-
he
this
didn't
movie
really
might
have
been
anything
stepping
competing.
stone for
Yeah,
him.
like Salvador, he's really good. I guess Salvador
Oh,
was
yeah.
before this. So
all three of those are before this. They're all
right,
80s. But also,
I
all
guess like
after John's death.
it's kind of like Jake Gyllenhaal, Maggie Gyllenhaal. Like
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure who spawned who, but
Yeah.
I feel like Maggie Gyllenhaal started it, and now she's kind of
Well, Jake's in City
faded
Slickers
away.
good actor, and then Maggie got more famous first. But they were both in Donnie Darko, so
Right.
they kind of came up together. And I think Jing was coming up with John, but John's just more talented. And so it looked like Jim was always on his coattails, but he was doing his own stuff. He's always
Yeah.
going to live in his brother's shadow. And I know for a fact he was on Twitter recently talking about like how his life's been, and he's like, I'm fine with it now. I'm happy.
I've heard him
Yeah.
talk about it, especially in that documentary, and he's just like, I barely knew my brother. He was like 10 years older than me, so by the time I was born.
Yeah. It's a little different than the Gyllenhaals then.
Good for him.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So the last part of our show is usually the picks of the month.
Yeah.
And I was trying to decide what we should go with. I think, given that we are big fans of Alan Rickman, I thought we'd go with what our favorite Rickman movie is. I know there's a lot of villain roles we mentioned,
Right.
but I don't want to steal it. I would probably go with Galaxy Quest.
oh, actually,
No.
no, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh.
It's funny you're going with Galaxy Quest. I would have
I
gone with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Right.
Yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Quest.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
We got to take Die Hard out of there because that's obvious.
Yeah, Die Hard's out of the running.
If
But now
it's-
I gotta look.
Die Hard and all the Harry Potter movies are out of the running.
yeah, I'll do
Jeez.
that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I like the fifth Harry Potter.
Here's one. Dogma.
Dogma. Damn it.
Dogma.
Yeah, no, Dogma is a good one. That's how like my introduction to Mr. Rickman was Dogma.
This
Actually,
was
one of
the
his
most
last-
Oh, are you gonna leave me with Love Actually? Fuck you.
No, one of his last, I would say, like Eye in the Sky. Really good.
I always want to see that.
Also, Nobel's Son.
I never saw that.
You said you liked that, didn't you? You saw that back when it came out, right, Jeff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember much about it, but I remember liking it.
Yeah, he plays a vintner or something. He has
Yeah.
some wine.
Honestly, I really like him in Robin Hood.
Oh
Forgot
yeah.
he was in there.
I had his action figure.
Really?
Eh.
Yeah.
Well, there's a funny Alan Rickman story. I think I told Tristan this, but I was in London a couple years ago, and we went to go see Blithe Spirit with Angela Lansbury in it. And after the show, we went to kind of like wait for people by the stage door. And, a couple of the cast members walked out. And then Alan Rickman walked out. He hadn't gone, he wasn't in the show. He had just gone to see it, like just to support his friends. And so he just walked out and wandered down the alley, and people kept trying to like get him to take pictures and autographs. He's like, no, it's not my show. Go, like,
Mhm.
I'll see you guys later.
Nothing to
And
do
it
with
was
this, God damn it.
Right. Exactly. And it was just like, it was a weird rush with fame there, but it was a humble dude.
That's cool. Well, either way, I hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about Quigley. Hopefully this doesn't sour you on Westerns if this was your first one somehow. But remember to like, subscribe, rate, comment if you can. We're on iTunes and Spotify and anywhere else you get your podcasts. And of course, our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening or watching. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Outro music.